morning. It's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to talk with you. I want to thank the organizers of this forum. We live in a world that's changing so rapidly you can hardly imagine it. And we accept the new technologies that come along easily without even any thought about what goes into them. So that we all have I don't have one, but most people have smartphones these days where they no longer have to remember any facts because they can always ask Mr. Google the question of fact. And sometimes it's accurate. Tomorrow we're going to talk about nanotechnology tomorrow morning. And it turns out to be a rich, diverse, and not easy to explain subject. So I'm really going to defer my actual discussion about nanotechnology, how it came about, what the history of it is. Actually, it goes back to at least to 324 AD, and talk about what the developments are, what kind of uses we can expect out of nanotechnology. So essentially what I'm doing is what's called a movie trailer. That is, this is an advertisement for the talk tomorrow. What I want to talk about today is a little bit broader than that. I want to talk about how technology is affecting us, has affected us, and how it has affected us and how it's likely to have even greater effects in the future. Of course, technology has been with us for many millennia. It wasn't until the beginning of the scientific revolution in the 17th century that the pace of the growth of human knowledge has grown so rapidly that it has transformed the world. If you think about how technology has affected society, the place, I guess, to start is with the invention of the steam engine. Because the invention of the steam engine transformed society. I'll speak specifically about Britain here. In Britain, it displaced the village weavers with the steam-driven shuttle and changed the whole of that society over a few decades. And it had repercussions. Ned Ludd and his followers, the Luddites, went around destroying steam-driven looms. The foundation of communism was a direct result of the Industrial Revolution that started in the early part of the 19th century. As time went on, the next major transforming development was the development of internal combustion engine and the use of petroleum, which effectively has, certainly in the United States and in most cities around the world, transformed the way that the people live because they're able to live long distances from where they work. Now, both of these things, the steam engine, the development of internal combustion engines, and furthermore, the development of the electricity that we use in so many convenient ways, is all based upon one thing, and that is fossil fuels. We start with coal, we move to petroleum, and we have recently discovered that these fossil fuels they're not good things necessarily to have, but they are immensely cheap. So that it's very difficult for any alternative source of energy to compete with them on a purely economic basis. So let me talk for a moment about where we can get energy We have the good news and the bad news. The good news is that a small portion of the southwestern deserts of the United States could supply all the energy that the whole country needs. The bad news is that the sun goes down at night. I'm talking about solar voltaic power. And you still need electricity at night. In fact, if you want to keep the lights on, you need them even more importantly than during the daytime. And you cannot store electricity in large quantities conveniently. About the most effective way of doing this is we have a hydroelectric plant to pump the water back over the dam during the daytime so that you can utilize the stored energy of the water to run the electricity at night. And the power needed at night is quite large. It's almost 2/3 of the peak power during the day. So this issue is essentially the most crucial issue with respect to the actual development of solar power. Because the sun is only effectively up about 8 hours a day, solar power is right at about twice the cost of the power from, say, coal generation, which produces copious quantities of CO2. So that prices it out of the market. You can say, well, we can get rid of this by effectively forbidding the use of coal. We can certainly afford to have our electricity cost twice as much as it costs now, because by the time it gets to the consumer, it costs quite a bit more. But how do we keep the lights on at night? You'd have to have a backup power system. And this means not having not just one, but two sources of electrical power. The other aspect of the bad news is that our transportation, the internal combustion engine, uses petroleum. And it's not easy to replace petroleum with some synthetic fuel. And the important thing about this that you have to realize is that the amount of energy that's contained in a liter of gas is enormous compared to almost any other thing that has the same weight and the same volume. So that we have the issue that gasoline, diesel fuel are not easy to replace, and it's not easy to make them from other sources. That's a long story, I won't get into it, but it's a difficult technological problem. So one of our main situations is that the production of carbon dioxide is increasing around the world. China has overtaken the United States in terms of total carbon dioxide production and is rapidly passing us by. On the other hand, the per capita production of carbon dioxide by China is only 1/3 of the per capita production of carbon dioxide by the United States. What this means is that if China goes to the per capita production of carbon dioxide of the United States, the total emissions of worldwide emissions of carbon dioxide will increase by 50%. So we have some serious issues that revolve mostly around energy, because energy is what drives our civilizations. And without an alternative source, it also drives, of course, as you well know, some of our global conflicts, because we're always seeking to get new fossil fuel energy. Even though we know it's bad for it, it's somewhat like a drug addiction. That we know that fossil fuel is bad for us, but we want more and more of it as soon as possible. Anyway, technology is affecting us greatly. Going back to nanotechnology, nanotechnology is a very interesting phenomenon because it has effects on so many different areas, but does not have the effect of essentially transforming civilizations. We might be able to avoid to enjoy a little bit of rest from civilization transforming technologies. So in that sense, nanotechnology may turn out to be very beneficial. But it will have impact in medicine. It will have impact in materials, stronger materials, better materials. It will have an effect in an enormous number of other areas, which you can hear about tomorrow. Thank you.